Lance by Chance. The untold story of him wrestling as a Von Erich. LanceByChance.com.
Fans, welcome back for Working Fans Wednesday, episode 29. I will be joined shortly by AJ Strangebrew and the man they call Dave to talk about the Dark Side of the Ring documentary series, as well as the A&E Biography series, and we will also be talking tonight's AEW card. Now, in addition to the social medias listed there, you can find us on Twitch, Fans Working. Our email is workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Our YouTube is youtube.com/c/workingfanswrestlingpod, or just search Working Fans Podcast. Our website, workingfanspodcast.com. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We are now available on Amazon and Audible, and the old episodes are coming out on that on Mondays. So May 17th coming up, that'll be episode 2 will air. And as the summer goes on, we'll be doing 2-a-days, 3-a-days to kind of catch it up. But we are now on Audible and SoundCloud.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now.
Now, we are brought to you by a variety of great sponsors. 482 Designs, that's FOUR82 Designs at gmail.com. Message them for all your screen printing needs. We had some beautiful shirts and stickers done over there. WrestleTopia, they are at WrestleTopia on Twitter and WrestleTopia on Facebook. JD Sloan over there has some great Google Drive sales. If you are a tape trader or just want wrestling memorabilia in general, WrestleTopia is the place to go. You know that Dave and I are the commentary team for Knockout Wrestling, and AJ is the brains behind the Knockout Rewind podcast. Go check them out. Currently, Renegade Wrestling on Facebook. We have shirts they are selling at knockout-shop.com. Go pick up a Working Fans podcast shirt. Support your boys. You saw the commercial at the top of the show. Lance by Chance, written by Vinnie Barry and Lance Vaughn. It's the story of how Kevin Vaughn became Lance Von Erich and then Lance Vaughn. His life before wrestling, his wild story of getting into the business, and perhaps his even more wild life after wrestling. Wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike will love this book. Let me play you a quick commercial now for the audio shows offered over at The Buzz. Now, last but not least, we are brought to you by The Buzz. They are our podcast home, our podcast network, our podcast family, if you will. Before we get into tonight's discussion about Dark Side of the Ring, A&E Biography, and tonight's AEW card, let me play you a commercial real quick detailing the live shows offered at The Buzz. And when this is done, we will have the guys in studio and we will start talking wrestling.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy, and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you don't know what this court means. What did you win this for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Better if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by your locksmith. On the block, throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game.
Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Woo! We're live, baby, all the way live.
Yeah, I'm glad we taped this ahead of time.
That's good in the corner, right?
Now, just to show you how live we are talking Dark Side of the Ring and A&E Biographies, recent run on wrestling biographies. Did you guys watch Booker T yet?
I thought AJ was going to start blaming.
Like most of America,
I'll
no.
show you we're live. I'll show you how live we are.
So you
Most of
haven't watched
America, I haven't gotten to the Booker T episode yet.
I got the Booker T.
Shit, I haven't either. So, Dave,
I liked it.
how did you like this episode versus how the other ones have been so far?
Oh God, this might have been. I can't. I really like Piper, but this is one of my favorites because I've never seen a lot of documentaries done on Booker T. They covered his stuff when he was in prison, and they talked about his early days wrestling on the Texas scene, and then they had stuff with Stevie in there, obviously, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't anything, obviously, like Dark Side, and they didn't take that crazy turn like you did with Randy Savage, where you thought the guy was getting buried for no reason. But overall, really good fun. If you're a Booker T fan and you haven't seen a lot of stuff on Booker T like this, I think it's excellent.
Now,
Well, I
did
think
you
the
find
difference-
it easier to enjoy since you weren't as familiar?
I think the difference with Booker T is that in his life, and I didn't see the episode, but I know his story, and I know that he started off in a negative atmosphere.
Yeah.
And his life took more of a positive turn through the work that he did and through his life in wrestling, and that he's been able to give back greatly to the Houston community through his wrestling organization and his training programs. And he has worked with actually a lot of the talent that you see now, including some of the NXT talent.
I want to say something about that Savage documentary, too. Like, everybody talks about how that turned negative towards the end. I do want to say, at the very end, they do talk about how he basically rekindled with his high school sweetheart, But the thing is, we spent a really good chunk. It was almost like the first hour was really good. And then we had like a half hour, 45 minutes before we got to that last 5-10 minutes of the show. It was like, it got really, really dark for a good amount of time there that we just didn't see coming. And it was kind of like, what the fuck is going on here?
Do you think it was a directorial choice? Because, I mean, it was his WCW time, and I just didn't enjoy it. I mean, maybe if you're a cursory fan and you enjoy A&E programming, that'll bring you in.
Let me ask you, Joe, did you see the Piper one?
I saw most of it.
Did you like it? Have you even been a fan of this style of documentary? Is this your cup of tea at all?
No, I'm not a fan of the A&E business. My brother was watching the Stone Cold one, so I sat down and watched it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, knowing about Stone Cold, I thought it could have been better, but I also just take it as I'm more of a completionist. I'm more of a wrestling fan, so I think I look for something different in it. Piper felt pretty close to what I read in his book about his life. Macho Man, it almost seemed like the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD, where it just had that weird section, and it's like, why include that?
Now,
Almost
wait a
like
minute.
the
It was a
Vince
little bit different.
conversation with talking to Roddy in Hell.
Yeah, but it was
And
a
that
little
was
bit
just-
different with
just
the
an odd
Macho
choice.
Man.
Yeah.
I felt like Rowdy Piper, they did a good job of showing the psychology behind what made him the person he was by talking about his upbringing. Macho Man, I don't think any of us were surprised. I know everybody talks about how much he was buried, but were you surprised? I mean, we heard stories about how he treated Miss
Well,
Elizabeth, how protective he was.
maybe a little
anybody
bit
surprised by his
because
behavior?
no, like I'm not surprised that stuff is out there and that he was like that. I think people are a little surprised that this came out in this particular documentary because the other ones came off a little more like puff pieces. You know,
But I think, but even the Pipers didn't really come across as a puff piece. They
Mhm.
talked about his dark side. They talked about his insecurities. They
Mhm.
talked about WrestleMania when he wasn't willing to do the job because of insecurities. They talked about his upbringing being homeless and stuff of that nature. They didn't
did
do enough
talk about
time
the
delving
family
into the Macho
closeness.
Man with underage Stephanie. That's for sure.
They did not discuss that.
Could that be the reason that this felt like it had a slant? Did WWE have enough of a hand in it where maybe the director of choice wanted to highlight something that might not make him
In
look as
order
good?
for Vince to be on that show, they've got to have a pretty good hand in it. Vince isn't showing up on that show about the Macho Man and talking if he doesn't have some kind of hand in what the direction it's going in.
Do you believe that rumor?
No.
No, I was just wondering.
It makes you wonder, though, is taking the Slim Jim deal to WCW enough of a thing for Vince to be mad for that long? Like, why is it that Macho Man has not come back into the fold throughout the years that much?
Some of that could be on Savage too. Like we don't know. Like Savage might not have wanted to come back. You know?
So
I know he didn't want to go in the Hall of Fame without going in with his dad and his brother. He wanted it to be a package deal.
Right.
So here's the big thing that I think
According to
gives some
Laney.
insight.
Yeah.
I think there's something that gives insight into the Macho Man and Vince's relationship. The show after the Monday Night Raw after Macho Man left, the way Vince said goodbye to him is unlike any other goodbye that I've ever seen Vince McMahon do for a talent leaving the organization. Saying how much he appreciates his time there,
True.
saying that he does give him the best wishes, stuff of that nature. I've never seen Vince do that for anybody else. I think that Vince was genuinely hurt by the Macho Man and the way he left. I think he feels like he was almost a little betrayed, unlike other people.
Yeah.
Was it
And
any worse than anybody else's left, though?
Well, wait a minute though. When he talks about feeling betrayed, he's also talking about a relationship they have. So let's give an example of that. If we're going to elaborate on that, I think what AJ's trying to say is Lex Luger might have did it in a worse way, but Vince didn't give a fuck about Lex Luger. He doesn't feel betrayed by Lex Luger because Lex
it's
Luger
a
didn't
personal
have.
relationship.
It's the personal relationship with Savage. He's saying. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's I think AJ's point. And to AJ's point, I will say that is true. That's something that people talk about. Vince did not, especially at that time when people were leaving for rival companies. Vince never said goodbye to somebody on air. He said goodbye to Macho Man. The first time I found out Macho Man was leaving WWE was Vince McMahon on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. I think the only person that would have emotionally hurt Vince as much if they had left was either The Undertaker or Shawn Michaels. I think if one of those two guys left in the middle of the war, that's the only two people that would have been as close. And quite frankly, I think Brett came pretty damn close. And I think that's why it affected him the way it did and why he had to do the things that he did with Brett. I think that Vince doesn't emotionally get connected to people. I don't even think he had the emotional connection with Hogan, quite frankly.
No, he's never
as
come
much
across
as
like
they
he's
did
had that
good
emotional
business.
connection. Yeah, because if you look at it, he's cried and stuff like with Andre the Giant. Like Andre was special to him. But you never see that emotional side like with Hogan. That's never been the case, it seems like.
Yeah, I think that him and Vince actually had somewhat of a special relationship. And Vince doesn't get emotionally
that was almost
connected to his
son-in-law.
wrestlers often.
Fuck out of here. Oh, yeah.
Hey man, wherever the Macho Man wants to drop his Slim Jim, I'm not one to fault him. I mean, she was underage at the time, so we don't condone that.
Nor do we necessarily say, or are we confirming that that's a true story?
Oh yeah, no, we're not. It's not breaking news right now.
Right.
So the next A&E biography coming out is going to be an interesting one. The next one is Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Well,
You
Sean's always
talk about a guy who's come around. He has a very dark part, and I don't know how much they're going to delve into it, but the middle of his career is very dark. And when he was on pills in his prime there and took that time off, there's a reason he had to take that time off. And I don't think it was all back injury. I think a lot of it was where he was in his life.
It reminded me, pills in his prime was like crack before Wembley Stadium. Like he did it on pills. That's what makes it so much more amazing.
Hey,
speaking of crack, I wonder how much it'll delve into his relationship with Sonny.
I saw a preview of it though. He basically says, talks about being messed up and crying how you're letting down this 2-year-old. You're screwing up. So I think they are going to definitely delve into that dark side. And Sean has said before, one of the scary things about him with this stuff is that he's always been an open book. He's talked about everything he's ever did wrong, so he doesn't really worry about this shit when it comes out. So
now,
hey, Zach St. John's watching, by the way, Mrs. St. John's favorite baby boy. So welcome to the show, Zach St. John.
That's right.
I would argue her favorite baby boy is the author of Night Full of Diamonds, available on Amazon.
You would argue wrong.
As well as we're available on Amazon on Audible. Go check us out. The old episodes are coming out now.
That's right. Go back. Watch some old stuff. We're good.
Also, you guys got to support us. Buy a shirt from knockout-shop.com. Let Knockout Wrestling know that we are one of the up-and-coming podcasts. And we the shit, baby.
Also, guys, if you like independent wrestling, do not hesitate, because let me tell you something. We all love independent wrestling. If you love independent wrestling like we do, check out Knockout Wrestling. It's based out of Florida, and it's
Lee County, Florida.
Yeah, it's a very up-and-coming independent wrestling organization.
Well, on that note, too, I want to talk about Dark Side. I'm itching about this, man. That Brian Pillman documentary I thought was one of the best in a long time. Like, it's kind of funny because the Dark Side, right, it's going to be the nastier side of things, but I thought that one about Pillman was more uplifting than the one about Savage, just because of the story about the aunt Linda and the son. I thought, like Pillman Jr. was like, wow, like, I really want to root for this kid. And I thought we really celebrated the legacy of Brian Pillman. Also, I thought, as crazy as he is, Kim Wood came off like a star. I
feel like the two biggest stars were Linda Pillman and Kim Wood.
Melanie Pillman.
Wait, what's that, AJ?
I thought they did a great job of showing what a nurturing mother Melanie Pillman was. I think the way that she just took into her bosom her stepchildren, which is not easy to do, and made sure that their life was well taken care of.
And the stepdad, we really didn't get enough credit. He was unable to comment, they said. They reached out to him. I'd like to know why he wasn't able to comment.
Yeah, because the motherfucker broke a kid's GameCube.
And trained dogs to bite him? I mean, exactly.
Okay, first of all, he tried to give the kid a hobby. Trying to get video games out of his life. So
I thought Dave was all about those droopy ass titties. Like, she was the saddest depiction of a person in that episode.
Oh, like, about Melanie. Yeah, Melanie was just awful.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Linda Pillman right now, the lady that brought this family together. What about them broke ass titties?
I don't think Melanie would have been so bad. I don't think Melanie would have been so bad if they didn't show the picture of her early on when she was modeling.
Oh yeah, no, you don't give a before and after with that. You give that, and then you're like, maybe she stayed out in the sun too many summers.
Here's Melanie Pillman in Hustler. Here's after she got hit by the truck.
Here's the thing.
This is after she was at Wembley Stadium.
They did a really good job, though. Like, I mean, they talk about things where they're open, where the daughter doesn't want anything to do with Melanie, but Brian Jr. still tries to keep a relationship and admits that even though his mom obviously isn't in the best place still, that having that relationship has been better for him.
In fairness, it's his actual biological mom, whereas Melanie is not her biological mom.
I understand. I'm not talking about that. I'm not criticizing that young lady. Yeah. That didn't even enter my mind. I'm
Also,
saying,
she came out and literally said flat out, Melanie's evil and has gotten what she deserves from drugs.
listen, that's her prerogative. That's
How
my
much does
point.
Pillman's oldest daughter look like him, though?
Which one?
The one
Danny?
that Danny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Danny's a mullet away from looking like she could team with Tom Zink.
Anyway, my point that I'm trying to make on this whole thing, though, like you said, though, like that was what I liked about it. It was very raw. We got to see Melanie, and you got to see that she's regretful of some of this stuff, and that
Guys, speaking of very raw, Tyler Peters is watching.
What's up, Tower Peters?
What the
Tyler,
fuck is he
good to see you,
private
buddy.
messaging you? He's like, "Good job, bro. You guys got to calm down with the swearing. I'm praying for y'all. I feel like such a pervert watching y'all."
Tyler, we love you, baby. Thanks for tuning in.
Tyler is one of the
Where the
great
fuck
writers
is
on
Randy
Buzz Network.
Osgood?
We love you, Tyler.
That's a little weird. Yeah, I know. Where's Randy at?
I feel like it's manure day on the farm, and he's
I'm
like,
gonna
"Sorry,
go,
boys, I'm spreading it thick today."
I'm gonna audio call him on Facebook real quick and hang up.
Yeah,
on
if we
Good, because
dude, call him.
we actually have to issue an apology to Randy
he's online.
with his comedy episode this week. He submitted a list, and we laughed at Office Space, and we didn't even talk about it because we thought that shit was stupid.
Wait a minute. What
Not
was the
talk
list?
to What's that?
Why would you laugh at Office Space? It's one of the best movies of the freaking 1990s.
Because the topic was top SNL movies.
Oh,
based
yeah,
off
that's
of
a good
SNL
reason.
characters.
But me and Dave were the fool because Scott messaged us this morning and told us that the original Milton animated shorts were on SNL. So I don't know if Randy knew that and he was just playing us for fools.
He
But
told me he was
Randy,
just joking.
we fucked up and we're sorry.
We love you. We're sorry.
I like that we
Super
buried that 22 minutes in, so the chances of him seeing it are.
Hey, I can tell you, as being the person that Randy likes the best in this group, you're all right with me, Randy.
But anyway, Dark Side. I thought that they did a really good job of covering everybody's point of view. Like you found out like how everybody felt. It wasn't just, oh, this person was the best. Even Melanie. Even though, like, obviously, I know AJ's sarcasm, like, felt like, and a lot of most people felt like, oh, man, that mother's crazy. They gave you an honest opinion of, like, hey, this is what so-and-so thinks, this is what she's going through. Like, I thought they gave you every side of every person. Now, you, the viewer, can decide who you want to root for, who you want to go against, because that's just human nature. But I thought they did a really good job of, here's what we know, here are the facts, this is what people think.
And Post Wrestling mentioned that she didn't participate in the Crazy Like a Fox book that didn't depict her well, but she participated in this, which I don't think depicted her well either.
No, but I don't think there was anything said that was like most of the stuff that was said was out of her own mouth.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing Chris Candido's point of view on Shawn Michaels and Sonny.
I think he's dead, so I don't think we're going to get to hear that point of view.
So, are you guys excited for next week's Dark Side of the Ring featuring, or shit, next week's, what is it, tomorrow's?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Dark Side of the Ring featuring Nick Gage. And after the episode, he's going to be live on the Game Changer Wrestling Facebook page doing a live Q&A. There's going to be some signed posters, and there's also going to be new Nick Gage merch. So, I'm interested in the documentary, but I feel like I'm almost more interested in the live Game Changer Wrestling Facebook thing afterwards.
Were either one of you guys fans of Nick Gage?
I've seen his stuff. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. And we've talked about this before on the podcast. He's very responsible early on for the training of Nick Gulak and Rory and Drew Gulak.
I'm like, Nick Gulak, who are you talking about?
No, Nick Gulak, baby, old promoter back in the old days.
Rory and
he ran the Plainfield territory.
Yeah, Rory and Drew Gulak both are students at one point in CZW of Nick Gage. So he's worked with a lot of the youth, and while he did crazy stuff in CZW, I always found him entertaining. I thought that that it's going to be an interesting story. It's going to be a little scary. And they did a documentary a few years ago about him. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I haven't.
but there's a fascinating documentary that they did a few years ago where they talked about the death matches and what he did to his body and how he almost killed himself. So
I'd
it should
ask
be an
the name of
interesting
that
show.
documentary, but I'm guessing that.
He would have
Yeah,
dropped it.
I gotta look it up.
I mean,
in
I'm
fairness,
interested. I just saw they released a documentary on Matt Tremont on YouTube called Life After Death, which is only interesting because it's another documentary about a deathmatch wrestler. And Nick Gage, I've seen him live multiple times on WrestleMania weekend. He very much has that Harley Race attitude about none of these other guys are real, but I'm real. And he would say
Guys,
to
it's
people,
called-
I'll fight you in the fucking parking lot.
It's called "Who's the Man?" The Nick Gage story.
Who's the man? We're looking that up.
Who's the man? Ha ha. Later time. Oh,
Now, guys, of the two series, I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say which do you like better because I enjoy what Dark Side of the Ring does. Plus, Conrad Thompson has those follow-up podcasts on the episodes, so that's interesting supplementary content.
It just depends what you like. One's grittier. I like the grittier
It's two
stuff.
different animals.
Yeah, I find the
Well,
grittier stuff
one
more
is
fascinating.
making it. I like the fact that they have the actors every week on Dark Side of the Ring that look just enough like them in the shadows to be like, oh, they got Brian Pillman.
I did not think that guy looked like Pillman at all. Actually,
I was going to
thought that
say,
was
Dave says they all look better in the shadows.
not this guy. I thought this was like Joe was sneaking around with like a perm. I thought, like, what the hell's going
See,
on here? Like,
Now, what I think is broke about these A&E biographies is
not biased. He's not telling you he hates it. I think it's broke about this.
we'll see. Like Dark Side of the Ring, it just.
Let me tell
I
you
think
something.
you expect what's coming at you. A&E biographies feels like a low rent 30 for 30. We're
Here's
going to
the
bring
thing.
you all these different directors, bringing you these different stories, and here this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I'd watch out for this one.
Okay.
This is going to be good, and it just feels like you don't have that consistent storytelling voice.
Okay.
Dark Side of the Ring, one consistent storyteller, just different stories.
Here's the thing.
I
though.
like to think that 100 years from now, when somebody, historians looking back on biographies and they're like, I saw the Alexander Hamilton, I saw the Ben Franklin. Oh, I saw the Stone Cold Steve Austin biography. I think that these are going to hold up.
Drop him on that stack of dimes. He calls it net. Hey, here's the thing, though. I'll give you an example, though, about the thing about the A&E biographies. So, a woman, one of the stores I deliver to, she goes up to me. She knows I do a podcast. She doesn't really watch wrestling. Hey, I saw some of those documentaries they're doing on pro wrestling. She wasn't talking about Dark Side. She goes, I saw the Andre the Giant one on A&E. I saw they had a Steve Austin one and a Randy Savage one. Another store I deliver to knows that I wrestle. Hey, did you see they did a documentary on Roddy Piper? They're puff pieces, but they're more mainstream. Like more people that don't watch wrestling are learning about documentaries through A&E, whereas they're not necessarily seeking out Dark Side, which is on Viceland, which doesn't have the same audience or the reach of an A&E. So there is some good with this A&E stuff too. But yes, as a fan and as a hardcore fan, yeah, Joe, there's no comparison. Dark Side's where I was about to
Guys, that is a very good segue, Dave, to AEW.
Fuck, you stole my segue thing because I was gonna bring that up because AJ, you didn't hear this story, but last weekend when delivering food, I was wearing my Pentagon shirt. I'm waiting to pick up the food, and this dude from across the bar goes, "Hey, is that Zero Miedo?" He goes, "Oh, you like Pentagon?" His next words were, "How cheesy was that blood and guts match?"
You should have told
I
him.
enjoyed it, but I told him, yeah, the ending wasn't the greatest.
You should have told him that voice
the
of the
ending was fine. It was
Hold
the
on.
camera angle that wasn't the greatest.
You should have told that guy in the voice of the translator. Penta says your mother sucks. That's what you should have told him.
Nah, this dude was trying to offer me a beer while I was working. I'm like, bud, like, I might be a wrestling fan. I'll talk wrestling with you in public, but like, we don't need to get too deep into this. But
Yeah.
isn't it wild how when people see wrestling things in public, they start to feel more comfortable going up to you as the wrestling guy and being like, "Hey, Dave, you see that documentary? What happened on Monday Night Raw?" Like there was a couple years ago, my cousin doesn't watch wrestling. He knew I got back into it. when Big Show broke the ring, he messaged me like the next day. He goes, "Hey man, was that real or what?" And I go, I hate to tell you this, but you're older than me, but no, it wasn't real. But it's wild what makes headlines.
So here's what I like. Fans a few months ago, Matt Hardy gets dropped on concrete. They're pissed off. They're like, how can they let him fall on concrete like that? What kind of animals are they? They're not protecting the wrestlers. You drop Chris Jericho and you protect him, and they're like, well, that looked fake as shit. What the hell is wrong with these people? Why would you not just drop him on the concrete?
Although Conrad Thompson did make me laugh. He was busting Shivani's balls. He said, man, you guys are the number one show on cable. That's great. You must have been jumping up and down on a bunch of mattresses and stuff. That's so great.
See, like everything about that match was great. It was everything I could have wanted in a War Games. There was blood. There was violence. That ending just felt drawn out. Why every time do we have a big cage does somebody have to come off the top?
I want to point out, I want to just throw, I thought about this afterwards, an alternative angle here. Because some people brought up, why are we getting out of the cage anyway? If you're an old school guy, like we don't need to be on top of the cage. You're supposed to not be able to escape the cage.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to get out of the cage.
Right. So here's what I'm suggesting, all right?
Triple cage
back
Doom?
Old school. No, similar finish, right? Where somebody quits to save Jericho. Okay, but borrowing from the old school I Quit match, right? How would it have been if Tully Blanchard is like slipping through the cage, just the cage locks, a wooden like fucking piece of a chair. They got him tied up. They're gonna shove it in his eyes. You fucking, you don't quit. I'm gonna stab this man. He's gonna be blind for life. And Sammy Guevara or somebody surrenders because they try to save him. And then he still stuffs the thing in his eye anyway. You still get the damn heel heat. You're doing the same finisher. No mattresses, and you had the brutal War Games. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just a fan. Hindsight's 2020.
Dave, I got to give it up. Usually you say stupid shit, but that was fantastic.
Just a thought. I had a week to think about it, unlike these guys. But that's not the point. It's just, I don't get it. Like, we don't need to be, look, once in a great while. But Shane McMahon has already done enough of jumping off freaking cages for us for the next fucking 10 years. All right? We've seen it. We're done. All right?
Yeah, so let's move away from last week's episode and move on to this week's. Shivani's going to be, Moxley versus Yuji Nagata, IWGP US title on US soil.
Yeah,
first time any IWGP title getting defended on Dynamite.
Excited.
It's going to be awesome, right?
It's going to be good. Yeah, excited.
Has always been a hard-hitting motherfucker.
Yeah, it'll be a fun match.
So this is going to be a fun show.
I was excited to see that Moxley wanted a match with Nagata. Like, I was just happy to get that, but to get that in the U.S. on Dynamite,
I'm just laughing because you imagine how the hardcore fans would be, how pissed off everybody if Moxley just walks in, kicks him in the gut, gives the double underhook.
I still remember when Dave called me up. He called me up, and when we were kids, he called me up. He said, AJ,
this is not true. Whatever this is.
No. Stop, Dave. You were in tears. He's like, I just saw Hawk get his arm broken.
That wasn't Nagata, first off. That was Yoshi Kwan, a fake Oriental wrestler. It was top champion.
I don't think you can say Oriental was not anymore. He's an Asian.
I'm sure that was Yuji Nagata.
The name of the wrestling promotion was Oriental Entertainment.
Somebody saw the shirt I got on. I was waiting for Josh DeBoard to catch on. And he's also 100% against fun.
Wow. Well, there you go. That's the old band there. We are young. Hey, so what else we got tonight? We got Pac and Orange Cassidy.
Yep, and the winner goes on to face Omega at Double or Nothing. I feel like with that promo they did the other week, they're setting this up for Orange to get that shot.
What do you say, AJ? Who you picking? Orange or Pac?
I think that Orange is going over.
Okay. All right.
The reason why is because I think for the pay-per-view they're going to want to pop a big number, and as much as we would love to see Pac Omega again, I think that you got to give the fans what they want, and they want freaking Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards you. It's funny. I just heard Cornette talk about this. He was talking about the War Games, and he actually agreed. He actually didn't like most of it until the end, like everybody else. But he joked. He said the way he said it, he's like, He says, yeah, they think Pockets is going to draw ratings. He calls them Pockets. He said, so that's why they got him. But he's like, ultimately, we know they're going to go to Pac in the pay-per-view because even they're not that stupid. And I thought, that's interesting, because I don't think that's what they're doing. I think we are going with Orange Cassidy. So
I think they are that stupid.
I don't know if it's stupid, but that's funny.
Now-
I'd rather see Pac, though, just for the record. Like, and it's nothing against
We'd
Orange
all rather
Cassidy.
see Pac.
I just think Pac's amazing. I think he's
Dude, I think Pac's. This is gonna get me into some heat. There are times I like Pac better than Omega.
No, no heat for me, brother. I think Pac is like a special talent. And you go back to that Iron Man match they had for like what was a half-hour Iron Man match on an episode of Dynamite before the pandemic.
One of the first couple.
Oh, it was amazing.
I don't think they let him go heat enough. I don't think they let him go heel enough.
I'd love to see it again. I'd love to see those two go at it again. So
Now, guys, if that match wasn't big enough, we got a career on the line. Well, it's basically like career versus titles. Young Bucks versus SCU. If SCU does not win, they break up.
crazy. I'm surprised this isn't on the pay-per-view, honestly.
Because I can't see SCU winning, but
Yeah.
it feels like it would be a
down
big
the
pay-per-view
worst
match.
town I've ever been in.
And I think we are getting a title change tonight, though. I think Miro wrestling Darby Allin. I think Miro's walking away with the TNT title.
Oh yeah,
I
we
do
skipped
too.
over that too.
Well, first of all, Darby Allin's beat up
Speed
from
up.
from
Right.
the stairs that he fell down last
What is he,
week.
fucking Superman? Is he going to come in here, beat up after he's throwing, and then he's going to beat Miro on top of that?
No. It's what I'm saying. He's so beat
that's
up.
what I'm
I
saying.
think
So
Miro's
it makes
gonna
no
come out.
sense. Yeah.
I think they're going to give Miro actually a quick win.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think this is going to be similar to what Brody Lee did to Cody. I think Miro's going to come in, wreck shop. We might see Darby last a
Sting's
little bit
still
longer.
out from what I. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, I think Sting's still out from the storyline.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to come in, and I think he's going to run roughshod over him, and then I think you're going to see Sting and Darby go after Ethan Page and frickin'
Scorpio Sky.
Scorpio Sky. Yeah,
Yeah. Fun Dynamite tonight, though. I'm excited.
who apparently no longer with SCU.
And sadly, there's no MLW tonight to talk about. So, what's your AEW match of the night? What are you most excited for? For me, Moxley Nagata.
I see. For me, an emotional standpoint, I am a longtime fan of Christopher Daniels. So for an emotional standpoint, for me to see him and Frankie Kazarian breaking up tonight and see them not being seeing SCU anymore, that to me is the match of the night because I'm going to be very sad for that. Plus, I think all four of them are going to put on the best match humanly possible that they can put together.
I'm excited to see Miro and Darby. I want to see Miro get crowned and win the championship. I'm excited.
I
for
am
this
happy to
opportunity.
see something positive happen for him. The only problem for me is that's basically the same level as the U.S. title, which is as far as the WWE would let him go.
I'm emotionally
hoping
invested,
that's
though.
not the end for Miro.
No, me too. I'm emotionally invested, though. Like I can honestly say, if like Miro loses tonight, I'm probably going to be annoyed.
But
I'll be
all right,
irritated.
so I also want to get something out here. I like Darby Allin.
Me too.
I do. I think he's a hell of a wrestler, but I don't think he needs this title on him.
Well,
And I think that we can go in a completely different direction. Having the belt on Miro, who's a monster, and have him go out there and just destroy people, I think will add something to the TNT title.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it would make Miro look weak if Darby's coming in as beat up. That's the problem I would have with him.
Yeah.
Now, AJ, I know before we go, you wanted to talk a little bit about NXT last night.
I do.
Yeah, there were some highlights. I thought I'll just say a couple things. I'll let you speak. I thought Kushida, Escobar, great match. What I really loved about it was clean finish.
I'll be back.
Kushida
in a
went
second,
over,
guys.
looked good. And then also I thought the same thing with Raquel Gonzalez. I thought they put her over strong. Martinez didn't look weak or anything, but they put Raquel Gonzalez over strong. And I thought, again, the champions came out looking good. I love the stuff with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase still. And also the referee with a drop kick or a leapfrog last night.
Leapfrog, yeah. I liked a lot of that stuff. I love the Ted DiBiase stuff. I think that's fantastic every week. That cracks me up. You do see it coming now, but it's still entertaining. but I thought that the wrestling last night was fantastic.
All right.
Both of the two matches you talked about, the challengers came across as being strong and came out of the match better than they were beforehand.
Yeah, and
That's a lost art.
and we had good clean finishes. That was it's crazy.
I like the fact that they returned Bobby Fish
Yeah, Bobby Fish
without
came back,
having
that's
him
right.
actually turn. What'd you say, Dave?
I said Bobby Fish came back. That was exciting. I'm glad he
Yeah,
came back.
no,
up
I
the
love
route.
seeing that without seeing him turn. I love the fact that they are making Pete Dunne into a complete badass on this show.
All right.
I love Pete Dunne. I think that Pete Dunne is one of those characters who you need to get over. And the fact that he can be half the size of Karrion Kross and still be feared just as much, to me, that's awesome. And hey, Randy Oscar, welcome to the show.
Yes, Randy.
Randy, did you catch our apology 20 minutes ago? If not, go to about the 22-minute mark. We'll make your day, brother. Now, guys, we got some wrestling to watch.
Show.
Any last words before we go out tonight?
Yes.
Randy Oscar.
Randy Oscar, we love you, baby.
AJ, anything for the people?
Randy, we're a little sad. We thought you hadn't tuned in. I'm not gonna lie, Dave and I, we got a little emotional. Joe said, "Fuck him." But hey, thanks for tuning in every week, buddy. We appreciate you.
That's right.
All right, guys, we will see you next week, and we've got some big news coming for you next week. Tune in to find out what's going on.
We might not even know yet.